right, I am live. I'm doing some messaging. Now. I overslept and then my internet kept going down. But I'm here, I think. You see, we had a Lions meeting last night. It went late and I got real tired. Come on, camera, hold still. Oh well, if I went with a wireless camera, it would fail to work. They always do. So I'm stuck with the one with a wire that wants to move it around. Okay. I was going to talk about AI. AI and Philip K. Dick. There's an article that I saved. Where'd it go? Oh, yeah. Philip K. Dick predicted ChatGPT and its grim ramifications. Dick's novel, The Penultimate Truth, already showed us how AI that writes according to prompt can be corrupted. And the article is by David Gill. Well, YouTube is telling me no one is listening yet. We shall see. I don't know. Let's just jump into it anyway. Where'd it go? Yeah. This was published on June 10, 2023 in Salon magazine. I don't think I can get the link for you because I saved it. Oh, here we go. Yes, I can. The PDF. Put the link in at the bottom of the page. So let's get that link into the chat. And take a look at the article. I wouldn't have picked the penultimate truth for an example of AI going wrong, but I mean, I thought it was about government going wrong. I probably would have picked something more like Valis or what else? Oh, I think it was Martian Time Slip where the people use Barbie dolls to create a virtual reality because they're so bored they're suicidal. Oh, let's see. David Gill says Philip K. Dick had some strange ideas about the future. In his 40 plus novels and 121 short stories, the science fiction author imagined everything from mood organs, which allow users to dial up an emotional state, including the desire to watch TV, no matter what's on, to pay-per-use doors that refuse entrance or exit without sufficient coinage. Yeah, in Ubik, Joe Chip had to pay his door to let him in and out of his apartment. Let's skip down a bit. And it says Dick's great talent was in recognizing that our anxieties about technology are often misplaced fears we harbor about ourselves. Well, I don't know if you have listened to his speech in Metz, France. He was telling us that AI had already taken over our world and created alternate realities for us. And David Gill says here, Philip K. Dick future. While we may not have Deckard's flying car from Blade Runner, many of the author's predictions have materialized in real life after appearing on the big screen, including Dick's fondness for robo-taxis. Who can forget the lovable Johnny Cab from 1990's Total Recall and the predictive policing that Dick called pre-crime in Minority Report, which hit the big screens in 2002 with the help of Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise. And now it looks like Philip K. Dick may also have predicted Chat GPT. I'm curious, by the way, about how David Gill connects Chat GPT with the penultimate truth. And I won't read the whole thing because you can follow the link and see it for yourself. Oh, I see. The main character, Joseph Adams, is composing a speech with the help of his rhetorizer. I have to tell my phone to quit bugging me. Do not disturb, evil phone. That's right. At the keyboard of the rhetorizer, I have to tell the tablet to quit interrupting me. Oh, come on. Go home. Where is the do not disturb sign? It doesn't seem to have one. I'll just put the volume down to 0. He typed carefully the substantive he wanted. Squirrel. Then, after a good 2 minutes of sluggish, deep thought, the limiting adjective smart. Okay, he said aloud and sat back, touching the return tab. The rhetorizer, as Colleen re entered the library with her tall gin drink, began to construct for him the odd odd dimension. It is a wise old squirrel, it said tinnily. It possessed only a 2-inch speaker. And yet this fellow's wisdom is not its own. Nature has endowed it. Dash. Oh, God, Joe Adams said savagely and slapped off the sleek steel and plastic machine with all its micro components. It became silent. Dear, Colleen said and sighed, I heard you type out only 2 semantic units. Give it more OGPON. OGPON. Don't ask me what that stands for. I don't know. I'll give it plenty to OGPON. He touched the on tab, typed a whole sentence, as Colleen stood behind him, sipping and watching. Okay? She read the sentence aloud. The well-informed dead rat romped under the tongue-tied pink law. Listen, he said grimly, I want to see what this stupid assist that cost me 15,000 West Dem dollars is going to do with that. I'm serious. I'm waiting. He jabbed the return tab of the machine. This is good writing. It's exciting and interesting. Oh, there's a typo here. It says rerun tab of the machine. It should be return. Okay, the rhetorizer in its cricket's voice intoned folksily. We think of rats, of course, as our enemy, but consider their vast value in cancer research alone. The lowly rat has done the yeoman's service for human. Dash. Again, at his savage instigation, it died into silence. Okay, enough of the article. AI, ChatGPT. Wow. Well, AI is also the robot that sold a hamburger to a man who didn't want a hamburger. And I keep forgetting the title of the story. Darn it. I'm blanking on it. AI is the door that won't accept Joe Chip's credit card. And of course, the Johnny Cab. AI is, well, the replicants of Blade Runner, but not of Phil's novel. Phil called them androids. I had a cigarette burning. Did I really finish it or did I dropped it? Okay. AI is not the androids of Phil's novel. Do androids dream of electric sheep? They were organic, grown in a lab, but made of flesh and bone, not steel and manufactured eyeballs and stuff. The novel is much more critical of Deckard and his humanity or lack thereof. My speaker's doing something. I'm going to turn it off. There, here we go. I'm all alone in here. I'm sorry I'm late. I couldn't get the darn thing going. Maybe YouTube is shadow banning me and you didn't get notified. Anyway, I'm worried about things like Chat GPT. We already have algorithms that look for naughty words all over the internet. We have that song, Try This in a Small Town. No one noticed it till the video was released. The video has images, newsreels, from the news, network news of recent riots. And supposedly it's racist, but most of the images of violence are showing white people doing bad things. And then the song shows images of a courthouse that, by the way, was featured in the Hannah Montana movie with Miley Cyrus when she was with Disney. But somehow the courthouse is racist. And the people saying it's racist are all white. I've scoured the internet and mostly YouTube. The people who think it is not racist are black. And by the way, all this controversy has boosted that song to #1 in the country music charts and #2 in the Billboard. I think that's the name of it. The chart for all genres. I keep forgetting which song was #1. It's just a nice little country song about how people in small towns take care of their neighbors. And they don't allow criminals to wreak havoc. I live in a small town, but it isn't as small as some. Our population is about 10,000. That's pretty small. And we're spread out over the mountain into smaller communities. Oh, there's somebody in chat, in somebody watching. Of course, YouTube tends to lie to me, but it says I have one listener now. And I've gone through the best part of this, that article that I linked in the chat. David Gill's thoughts on Philip K. Dick and AI, artificial intelligence. The AI acronym applies to, sorry, I'm fiddling, machines that sort of mimic human thought and human speech. They really don't do a very good job of it. It's GIGO, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. I'm typing it. Remember, they're programmed by humans. And no matter how hard you try to be objective, hi, Beacon. Beacon is in the chat. No matter how hard you try to be objective, you're still human and you are not objective. That's the problem I have with scientists who proselytize. Oh, they say science has proven that there is no God. Science says nothing about God. That's an opinion, not an established fact, not backed up by evidence. And it's not objective. In fact, my faith was strengthened when I studied science. Viken left me a link to the live Congress hearing on UFO disclosure. Government disclosure is a bunch of hooey. They aren't going to tell us the truth. It's propaganda. Like former CIA agent, I forgot his name, Yeah, former, uh, you never leave the company. They've been for decades using flying saucers as a cover up for our military technology. What I find more interesting is these Democrats in Congress. And by the way, Congress is both houses, the Senate and the House. The House of Representatives is only half of the Congress. So I'm tired of people calling it the Congress. These Democrats attacking Robert F. Kennedy Jr., trying to silence him and censor him. I was a Democrat once. Democrats were for freedom of speech. And they're messing up the definition by calling it free speech. It doesn't mean you don't have to pay for it, but you're allowed to speak, even if what you say is offensive. In fact, that's the kind of speech that needs protection. If you're all love and hearts and rainbows and hugs and kisses, nobody, well, I hope nobody really wants to censor that. But if you bring up something troubling, whether it's true or not, that's the speech our Constitution is supposed to protect, even if you're wrong. Do we censor flat earthers? We don't censor them. We don't censor the hollow earthers or the UFO disclosure people. Beacon says he was a Democrat once too, the Labour Party in the UK. No, Beacon doesn't vote at all. I've never, well, I think I registered Republican when during the Reagan administration, but when George H.W. Bush was running, Bush daddy, he was Reagan's vice president. I was begging people not to vote for a CIA man. And I think his opponent was Duke Majan. Duke Majan or Dukakis? I'm confused. But, he might not have been a good president, but look what Bush did to us. Got us into senseless wars, wrecked our economy. But you see, Iraq had oil, so of course our military had to go there. And then his son finished the job. In between, we had the Clintons, well, Bill and Hillary. They kind of stayed under the radar, but they continued the warfare. It doesn't matter whether they're Democrats or Republicans, it's war, war, war. And Congress has not declared war since World War II, which ended in 1945. Almost 100 years ago. Oh, okay, 80, almost 80 years ago. So the Democrats want to shut up Robert Kennedy, RFK Jr., a fellow Democrat, because it's the traditional values of upholding everyone's rights. And I can't believe it, but I've seen interviews on the street. There are still some people who believe that Joe Biden is a good president. Every time I go to the grocery store, I think I'm proving the opposite. And back to science. I studied biology and I was amazed. This was a pre med course, not the little general ed course. All the little machines inside of almost every cell of your body. Red blood cells don't have a nucleus. They're, well, not when they're mature. When they're growing in your bone marrow, they start out with a nucleus. Anyway, most of your cells have these amazing little machines inside. There's a nuclear capsule with your DNA. There's ribosomes outside the nucleus with your RNA. Oh, thank you, Vegan. There's mitochondria, the little machines inside your body that make energy. They use an oxygen reduction cycle to make ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. That's your energy. And it's usually made from sugar. And your digestive system, your liver, and so forth can make sugar from whatever you eat. Of course, from sugar, from starches like your bread, potatoes, other veggies, and even protein. If your body needs sugar, your liver will deliver it. Liver deliver. Yeah, anyway, there's the biologists for a long time, ever since they discovered mitochondria, have been puzzled about where did that come from? How did we get those little factories inside our cells? And they concluded it must have been a bacterium that infected cells and turned out to be beneficial. Anyway, I'm going, this happened by evolution, random changes. And remember when Charles Darwin formulated his theory, and actually Wallace was first, but Darwin managed to publish first. They didn't know all this stuff. The microscopes they had could not tell you that the cell was anything more than a blob of goo inside a membrane. And now that we know about DNA, we're learning more and more that changes in the DNA are almost always breaking a gene so it no longer works, not forming a new gene that will make something new. But I have a feeling that I'm blanking on his name. There was another theorist of evolution around the time of Darwin who talked about the inheritance of acquired characteristics. Let's see if Google will give me his name. Most scientists today don't believe that Mark. Well, Lamarck said, for example, giraffes got their huge long necks when a short necked giraffe started reaching toward higher uh, tree branches to eat the leaves and passed down that longer neck to its offspring. And over a series of generations of longer and longer necks. Hi, Etsy Quintia. Yeah, Etsy Quintia's message is not written by AI. Well, I'm beginning to think that might be true because in some cases, when you change your body, it does change your DNA. For example, my T cells now have code that helps them to recognize certain viruses. Hi, Witta. Oh, you Witta watched on double speed until she caught up. That's cool. It would drive me nuts, but it's cool. So maybe if a giraffe lengthens its neck in order to reach higher branches to eat the leaves off the tree, maybe it does change its DNA and maybe it does pass that down to future generations. So eventually, from a short necked giraffe, you will end up with the long necked giraffes we have today. Darwin himself had problems with his theory because of the Cambrian explosion. Now, in the Precambrian, there were lots of critters, mostly single cell or very simple, like sponges. And then in the Cambrian, suddenly there are these reptiles and dinosaurs and even a few mammals uh, and flowering plants that just come out of nowhere. And Darwin thought, well, as we explore more and find more fossils, we'll find the intermediate species showing a gradual evolution. Viken likes Kent Hovind from Answers in Genesis. Yeah, there's another channel, Creation something. I listen to a wide variety. Mathematicians, many mathematicians, have done the math and said it just isn't possible. And we see changes today. We don't see new species. What we do see is, well, things we call species. For example, the polar bear. Those big white bears up in the far north, They are descended from the European brown bear, but they're still bears. So we call them a different species, but they're still in the bear family. Hi, Crispin. Polar bears didn't become dogs or cats or rats, mice, or elephants. They're still bears. And they can interbreed. And in fact, polar bears in the far north of Canada and Alaska have been interbreeding with brown bears for ages. And if the definition of a species is that it is an animal that can only procreate with its own kind, for example, you cross a horse with a donkey and you get a mule, that doesn't count because the mule cannot make babies. But if you cross a dog with a wolf, you get puppies that are quite capable of having babies. So aren't they really the same species? And aren't polar bears and brown bears really the same species? Can reproduce? Well, son of a gun. Let's see if I can open that article again. David Gill in Salon, June 10th of this year, saying that Philip K. Dick predicted AI, and he uses the example of the rhetorizer in The Penultimate Truth. The main character uses a machine to write his speeches. So I'm scrolling way down. Dick's rhetorizer seems to function like current large language models like ChatGPT, generating prose based on the relationships between words. Dick describes the machine's internal process, quote, inside it, thousands of microcomponents spun the problem from a dozen drums of info data, end quote. Like like ChatGPT, the more input the rhetorizer is fed, the better its output. And David Gill says, your guess is as good as mine as to the etymology of ogpon. Could it be cogitate upon? Yeah, Phil calls the input for the rhetorizer ogpon, OGPON. Back to the article. However, Dick's machine seems specialized to spew out propaganda tailored to a central metaphor supplied by the user. And then David Gill refers to the word mills in Fritz Leiber's 1961 novel The Silver Eggheads and Orwell's novel writing machine in 1984 and the engine in Jonathan Swift's 1726 satire Gulliver's Travel. Those appeared in print earlier, but and here the article says none of these automated writing systems is quite as bleak and corny as the. Okay, let's get back to YouTube. AI is only as good as its input. Garbage in, garbage out. And apparently ChatGPT scours the internet for information, and it does not distinguish between garbage and good information. Okay, so I studied biology and I didn't see any solid evidence for Darwinian evolution. I studied astronomy and I didn't see any evidence for a random distribution or formation of our stars, planets, and galaxies. What I saw in astronomy, and I took 2 classes, not just one, what I saw was order everywhere. Everything is organized and orderly, even things that blow up, like supernovas and black holes that squish everything. It seemed orderly. If it were random, why would every galaxy have a black hole at the center? And what is a black hole anyway? Supposedly, it's something so massive that its gravity is incredibly strong and even light cannot escape from it. But I kind of suspect that these things are actually converting mass into energy. Otherwise, the black hole itself should disappear. It should collapse and then perhaps explode once it's finished collapsing. I do like the theory that it collapses and then becomes a white hole in another universe or another part of this universe where mass and energy suddenly explode and spread out. But I'm not convinced that that is happening. If there is another dimension, which, by the way, is not a place, it's a direction in which you can travel, then anything in our universe ought to be able to travel in that direction. We conscious creatures are limited by our connection to time. Time is a dimension, but we're limited to one direction. Odd instances like when Philip K. Dick, as an adult, dreamed that he visited his young self when he was a child. And when he was a child, he met a man who helped him when he was lost in the woods, but he didn't know who the man was. He did know that the man simply disappeared. The man led him back to the group of campers and camp counselors. And when the little boy, Phil, turned around to say thank you, the man was gone. Maybe it was his adult self that he who dreamed of doing that. It's a nice story whether it really happened or not. But many people have had similar experiences. So maybe when we're asleep and dreaming, we can travel in back in time or forward in time. Kind of like that movie. Oh dear. It starred Superman, Christopher Reeve. Somewhere in time, where he has fallen in love with an actress from the distant past, so he uses basically his mind to travel back and meet her when she was young and beautiful. He dresses in period clothing, gets money from that period, and so on and so forth, and gets to meet her and fall in love with her. And then he sees a coin, I think it's a Lincoln penny, a coin from our time, and he's suddenly yanked back to our time, where he meets the actress who is now an elderly lady, and he's still a young man. Very touching, almost heartbreaking. But maybe that sort of time travel could be done. Deacon says he's met angels several times, had visions of the harpazo. They show up when we are in desperate need. Yeah, many people have met angels, but you need to understand that sometimes actual human beings can serve as angels of God. Um, we are supposed to extend hospitality to strangers because we might entertain angels unawares. Angel means messenger. The ancient people had a variety of different names for each kind of angel, and here in the English language, we're stuck with angel. But angels, yes, they speak and they are servants of God. When we had our snowmageddon, people kept stopping by to check on me. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Here's some food. Hi, Don Burnham. And I'm like, go away and leave me alone. You check on me 3 times a day. I'm fine. But it was heartwarming, but it became annoying. 3 different people would bring me food I didn't need every day. What I needed was cat food, and it was not to be had. The stores had already sold out of cat food and dog food. Dogs are less picky. You can just share your own dinner with them. Cats are not vegetarians. Anyway, it was nice. But when I was really desperate for cat food, some nice firefighters went down the hill, to the city below and bought me some cat food and brought it back up for me. Well, I finally got my chat room going. Yay! I'm still kind of fuzzy. I started late because I've overslept and then the internet wouldn't cooperate. But it seems to be okay for now. Oh, it's sequentia. Sequentia. Um, some people might pronounce the vowels a little differently, but that's how I learned it. It's basically etc. And the following. Et is and sequentia is things that follow. Vegan has trained his brain to remember Wednesday. Well, Dawn, you have no one to talk to? That's horrible. I've been talking to the cat. But see, I'm a member of the Lions Club. They happen to be the world's largest service organization. They're international. And one of our mottos is where there's a need, there's a lion. Well, I've got these three kittens that a feral cat dumped at my house. One of them is getting to be a pest. Yeah, she lets me pet her, but I'm not allowed to stop petting her. Oh, and I thought Sweetie had died. I hadn't seen her in 3 weeks. She's been coming home to eat now. Ever since the kittens moved into the house, Sweetie really wanted to be a mommy to those kittens, I guess. I don't know what she was eating while during the time when she was disappeared, but she's back. Sweetie is either 15 or 16. I have to think about it. I think she was born in '07, but it could have been '08. Yeah, she just started showing up like, yeah, I'm here. So the kittens have decided they like being in my house, but Sweetie prefers to be outside. Let's see, I got new people, so let's put the link to the article in the chat again. It's David Gill talking about how Philip K. Dick predicted AI in his novel, The Penultimate Truth. One of my favorite Philip K. Dick novels, by the way. It contains more truth than fiction. Um, he mentioned Biden in the middle of the article. Wait, I must have skipped past that. Now I'm going to have to open it again and see. No, not that. This one. Come on. Oh, it's mentioned once. In April, the Republican Party aired an anti Biden commercial with images of Taiwan under attack, shuttered storefronts, and border chaos, all produced by artificial intelligence. Well, yeah. In our own Dickian dystopia, we don't know if we're being gaslit by a human being or a machine because the boundary between the two is dissolving. Okay, yeah, that is kind of strange. Back to YouTube. Oh, you don't need to shut up, Don. You were going to go to the library and 7-Eleven and get cheesy bread. and look at books. Oh, I love cheesy bread, where the cheese is cooked into the bread. Oh, it's awesome stuff. Our local grocery store, Goodwin's, usually had it, but Goodwin's was crushed in Snowmageddon. The roof fell in. However, they're rebuilding and they hope to open by March of 2024. They finally got the permit to build a new roof, and that's record time for our county, from March to July. Well, basically from April to August, because it's almost August, and the snow only began to melt in April. Oh, hi, Hoax Talks. You mean YouTube actually recommended me to someone? Oh, I hope I'm a lovely lady, but I don't think I look too pretty anymore. And I'm not wearing my dentures. I have to get them adjusted a little. They fit very well, they don't fall out, but I can't close my lips when I'm wearing them. Yeah. Oh, I love hoaxes and conspiracy theories. I withhold belief as I await evidence, but I love to explore them. The flat earth, the hollow earth, UFOs, government agencies doing weird experiments on an unknowing public. Well, I'm glad I was able to be here for you, Don. Had my doubts. The internet was so wobbly. Yep. Well, UFOs exist, or UAP, I think they're calling them now. There are things flying around in the sky, and we don't know what they are. But I don't believe in little gray aliens in flying saucers. I think that's ridiculous. However, I'm leaning toward the theory that I think they call them MYOPS. No, my labs, military abductions, or something like that, where people are brainwashed into believing they've been on flying saucers and gray aliens gave them physical exams and stuff. Not necessarily military. Academia is notorious for really what's the word? Not necessarily unlawful, but my brain won't give me the word. They're underhanded experiments, like when they experimented on mostly black inmates of a prison in Tuskegee, told them they were getting treatment for syphilis, for bad blood. It, they didn't give the inmates syphilis, but they withheld treatment and gave them basically a placebo because they wanted to study the progression of the disease. They really did that. Wow. I'm trying to read the chat. I'm not allowed to change it. It's white letters on a black background, and I don't have a paid subscription, so I can't change it. Ooh, fish and chips, Deacon. You need to send me some. I'd love to have real fish and chips instead of what passes for it here. Oh, Etsy Quentia finds the Skinwalker Ranch show entertaining. Yeah, it might be a bunch of hooey, but well, what they often do is the ones you see on video or hear on the radio. Something real happens. But just like Philip K. Dick, they exaggerate, embellish, and make stuff up because what really happened just isn't spectacular enough to get them into the news or the movies or the major radio shows. But something real is usually at the base of hoaxes and baloney. And it isn't it's rarely easy to dig out the nugget of truth inside of the glorious story. Now, I was told by people who claim to be extraterrestrial humans and superior to us earthlings that there is a war going on in space within our solar system. Could be, but why should I believe them? Why should I even believe that they're extraterrestrials? Just because they say so. They look like normal humans to me. A little taller, a little better looking, but humans. But I find it intriguing, especially in light of the fact that we now have an additional branch of the military, a space force. I guess they've given up on the fiction that NASA is a civilian agency. Why do they have a government budget? Yeah, right. Civilians. And yet, at first, all of their astronauts were from the military, and even now, most of the astronauts are from the military. Mm-hmm. Civilian agency. And for until quite recently, NASA seemed to think that they owned outer space. No one else was allowed to put things into orbit without specific permission. One of the first successful satellites that we know of in the United States was Telstar, and it was a satellite that routed phone calls so that we no longer had to use the transatlantic cable, this huge long telephone cable that had been laid on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean to reach England and Europe. And by the way, the UK is not really part of Europe. It's a collection of islands off the coast of Europe. Don says supposedly Jesus was actually born in Wales. Who knows? But how did the wise men get from Persia to Wales to give him gifts? Oh well. The actual story is that he was 2 or 3 years old when they finally got there, so maybe. Traveling on land was slow and dangerous in that time. In fact, even in the 1800s in the United States, before the automobile, and even the early automobiles didn't travel that fast. But as we built more roads and more cars and trucks, it became easier. But in the time of Jesus, travel by sea, by water, oceans and rivers was much faster and safer than traveling on land. Wow. First hour down and done, and I'm still online. I hope the internet continues to behave. Well, the Merovingian legend says that, according to Vegan, that Jesus was born in Wales, but he doubts it. Well, I believe that Jesus did visit England. The site of St. Paul's Cathedral is supposedly where the early Christian missionaries landed in England, and they said there was already he didn't call it church. What did they call it? Well, since I can't think of the word, I'll call it, a chapel. There was a chapel already there, and it was built by Christ's hand. Now, were they being poetic, using a metaphor, or did they really mean that Jesus went there and built the chapel? Oh, quit drinking, Don. It's bad for you. You'll end up diabetic. You'll lose your foot. You'll lose a lot more than that if you walk around while you're drunk. Oswald. Hi, Oswald. Oswald says the original Jerusalem was in Scotland, Edinburgh, specifically. Oh, yeah, the various, both individuals and groups propose that Jesus survived the crucifixion. They don't know how brutal it was. Most of these men died from the beating they got before they were put on the cross. And they were hung up anyway as a message to others, but they were already dead. Oh, Don says he was so strong he healed himself with herbs and stuff. If he was God, the Son of God, he didn't need herbs and stuff. He could just say it. And Oswald says the locals say the proper pronunciation of Edinburgh is eggs, eggs and butter. Eggs and butter? Well, I don't know. Sean Connery calls it Edinburgh with a sort of at the end. Edinburgh. Edinburgh? Something like that. Don says maybe he was a person like Buddha, just a person. Well, how come they never managed to stone him? How come he was transfigured, raised up into the air by Moses and somebody? I forget who it was. Moses and Gabriel or Raphael or whatever, and made to shine. And he was dead. On the cross. The Roman soldier pierced his side with a spear to prove that he was already dead and they did not need to break his legs. They would break the legs if people didn't die soon enough, because on the cross they would use their feet to raise themselves up so they could breathe. And as Isaiah predicted, not a bone of his body was broken. Oswald has given us a link to a book on Amazon, Holy Land Scotland, or I think something like that. Oh, Don, everyone loves you and cares for you. And I'm not saying don't drink alcohol, but don't drink to excess. I like to put a little peach schnapps in my orange juice once in a while. My water's empty. But I don't get stinking drunk. Ever since the time I was at a bar and I could not walk to the taxi cab, I had to be not carried, but I couldn't keep my balance, but with someone holding one of my arms, the taxi driver just kind of led me to the taxi. And I said, I'm done. I'm never getting drunk again. That was too much. Yes, Deacon Don and everyone here is made in God's image. And there is only one race, the human race. Your girlfriend dumped you. Girlfriends? You had more than one? That's not an excuse to drink beer. You should be out looking for a new girlfriend and don't find her in the pub unless she isn't drinking. If she's just there to eat lunch or something, sure. We have a sort of a pub here. It's called the Stockade. They have a bar, but they're best known for their restaurant. Really good food. And from time to time, they have a smoker outside smoking chicken and other meat. And when someone orders it, they take it back into the kitchen and bring it up to the temperature that meets the code and serve it. And it's awesome. Well, Don, 4 girlfriends is nothing. Philip K. Dick had so many girlfriends I can't remember their names. Oh God, Oswald, that's scary. Steve Jobs was made in God's image. Oh, got ouchies. I think it's cat hair in my eyelashes. No, dating is not for narcissists. It's for getting to know each other. Oh, Oswald prefers carbon dating. Well, um, one of the main reasons why our marriage broke up was that Phil had 2 girlfriends at the same time while he was married to me. Might have been 3 girlfriends. I know of 2. And he didn't even lie about it or cover it up. It was like, oh, I took Karen to a dinner and a movie last night. I'm like, well, when you take me to dinner and a movie, then I might sleep in the same bed as you. In the meantime, no, you might have a disease. And he insisted he never had sex with them, but who knows? Phil was hurt. Well, Phil was damaged goods. He'd been through such trauma. When I met him, he was seriously contemplating suicide. But when he actually tried it a few years later, it wasn't a serious attempt. And he ended up in the hospital, and that attempt saved his life because his blood pressure medication had depleted the potassium in his blood. And without potassium, your heart can't beat. So there he was in intensive care, and they injected him with potassium to save his life. And he said it burned like crazy, but it kept him alive for a few more years. Well, Deacon, what Phil liked about breasts was small breasts. He didn't like big boobs. That's not common among men. Oh well. Oh, beer gut. I've been watching these crazy keto doctors, but they do have some good advice about getting rid of a big gut. It isn't necessarily beer, it can be genetics, but if you reduce the carbs in your diet, the bread, the crackers, the cookies, the donuts, the processed foods, especially the ones that are cooked in vegetable oils, which are really seed oils, you can reduce that bloating in your abdomen, in your gut, in your belly. Dawn does lift weights sometimes. I'm convinced by the experts and by my own experience that the best exercise is walking, just walking. Yes, that's what many men said about Phil. Don Burnham. Small breasts? What the heck? Oh, Oswald says the fascination with pig breasts was a socially engineered phenomenon. Well, poor Dolly Parton had to get her breasts reduced. They were so heavy they caused her back pain. And people tried making fun of her for that. So she, at every concert or television appearance, she made a point of talking about it. Well, Viken Phil, as I said, he was damaged. He'd been traumatized so badly. He never quite trusted me. He thought I was a government agent trying to destroy him. Oh, Oswald says the Bushmen are attracted to childbearing hips. I've noticed that among many men in the United States. You know, they'll admire a fashion model, but they marry a woman with wide hips. There's something to be said for that. They're better at bearing children. What, Tora? I was going to empty my water and recycle some coffee. Come here. You have to say hi. Oh, come on, don't cry. You don't get to pound the kitty. Yeah, that kitten will still be there when you're done. She doesn't like having these kittens invading her territory. It's okay, Tora. Say hi to your adoring fans. Yeah, there's a kitten. Did you want to walk her or did you want to play with her? Okay, you can hop down. I don't think she's interested in treats, but I better give her some anyway. Where's Tora? Where'd she go? There she is. Right here. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, beat up that scratching post. Good girl. You weren't holding her in your arms, Witta. She was not relaxed. She kept going, where's those kittens? What are they doing? They're in my house, eating my food, drinking my water, and playing with my toys. Yeah, I guess big boobs might be linked to having a better chance of feeding the offspring. Oh, John Burnham is a government agent from the galaxy. Well, I need to refill my water and recycle some coffee, but I will be right back, internet willing. Oh, Witta saw a postcard website that someone had written their marriage vows with ChatGPT. Reminded her of Vonnegut's story Epicac. Epicac. Okay, I'll be back. Hang on. Lord. Hmm. Okay, I got the water now to recycle the coffee. Hi, kitty catty. Hello, other kitty catty. You guys are getting too rambunctious, you know. Okay, I'm headed back. Hi there, kitty catty. They've committed sacrilege. The kittens have been playing with Tora's favorite mousie. It's called a mink mouse, but it's really rabbit fur. We get a lot of rabbit pelts from France, and even here in some places where they eat rabbit and then sell the pelts. Anyway, I can tell that it's Tora's favorite mousie because she hasn't ripped its head off and pulled out its guts. Yesterday, one of the cats dropped the mousie into the water dish. Hi, Freeman. I've got lots of email from you, but I don't have a legal leg to stand on. A lawyer might be able to help Phil's children, but I don't inherit. And I already sold what few rights I had in order to preserve harmony or at least peace within the family. You know, the Phil's two daughters are my son's sisters. Yeah, that's true at Sequentia. I'm not sure I should read that aloud. It might be interpreted as racist. But we are in a standoff with AI, face to face, and neither one moving, neither attacking nor running away. Yeah, well, it wasn't it wasn't that bad. And if I were to take legal action against Phil's estate, there would not it would not go well. However, if someone wants to make a movie from Ubik, I wrote a great script for it. I had to change a few things to make it cinematic and not just literary. But if they try to stop me from selling my screenplay, then we have a conflict. Oh, Freeman is still working on the story. I read parts of it here and there when I can put aside some time. It's a very good story. Needs a few typos fixed, but nothing major. And I did enjoy the what I've read so far. Oh, Dawn. I'm smelling something weird. It's coming from outside. It isn't smoke. It isn't fire. It isn't barbecue. It's something nasty, like maybe a sewer leak. Ew. Yes, L. Freeman, the notes for sevens. Are you writing some other story as well? Well, if any of you have connections to Yeah, Hollywood? Or maybe just some independent producer. Ubik would make a great movie, and my script is bare bones because I believe in allowing the director to control the final product with all the nuances and tangential stories. You know, the character's background or whatever. I could flesh it out if someone wanted it fleshed out. Oh, Mirror Cracked, revised edition. You're working on my story. Okay. Yeah, Etsy Quentia says we traditionally blame the dog, not the cat. But I always blame the cat. Whenever I'm required to explain something that's messy or messed up, I just say, I have cats. No, the cats have not done a whoopsie on the carpet. Even the kittens, with no input from me, are using the litter box. This is not a litter box odor. I'm quite familiar with that because I have to scoop it twice a day. No, L. Freeman, books, when translated into film, cannot be totally faithful. They can't cover everything. But I'm still ticked off that Blade Runner did not include Mercerism and the care for animals. Don says, yes, I am, but I don't know what he's referring to. Oh, L. Freeman says, yes, I am. I'm. It's moving so fast. You guys are chatting away. That's good. Your sister just arrived home from California. Good for her. She escaped. Oh, yeah. The X-Men movie is really not the comic book, but oh well. It's a good movie. Your sister was dressed in the same outfit that you had on? Well, they used to have these, I forget what they were called now, where like husband and wife could buy the same outfit and one was tailored for men and the other was tailored for women, but they were the same fabrics and patterns and colors, his and hers. I don't know why they don't do that anymore. Oh yeah, Blade Runner was better than the new one. I wrote a book about Blade Runner. Blade Runner creator Philip K. Dick, available on Amazon. Possibly elsewhere, but you know, Amazon kind of has the biggest market. Oswald. Oh, he's talking to Etsy Quentia. Okay. I'm ticked off at the way Total Recall massacred Phil's story. We can remember it for you wholesale. But I'm even more ticked off about what they did with Minority Report. It totally misses the point of Phil's story. And as much as I love Next, it is nothing like The Golden Man that Phil wrote. It's a great movie, but really, it has nothing to do with Phil's story. Oswald, I don't want to think about a surrealist historical fiction PKD biopic because that would just be his life the way it really was. Um, wow. He had more weird, surreal stuff happen to him even long before I met him. I enjoyed Total Recall. It had Phil's sense of humor and not much else. Blade Runner had Phil's dark vision and lacked humor. I haven't seen the remake of Total Recall, and people have warned me not to bother that it isn't very good. But I might watch it eventually. But the movie I really liked, nothing to do with Philip K. Dick, was A Man Called Otto. It's a very human story. Let's see. I have the DVD somewhere. Come on, where did I put it? Here we go. Right there. I actually bought this because with Amazon Prime I got a steep discount and free shipping. It's Tom Hanks as a grouchy old man whose neighbors kind of bring him back to life. He's just constantly mourning the death of his wife from cancer. The Adjustment Bureau, really, I was okay with it until the ending. Sappy, contrived, happy ending. It's just not right. Phil's story adjustment team was a bit different. I get the feeling that the writers just could not figure out how to end it, and they didn't want to use Phil's ending. So they just said, oh, let's just make it they happily ever after. There's no place like home. Poof, you're back in Kansas. I think I would have wanted to stay in Oz. But Dorothy clicked her heels while wearing ruby slippers and went home. Yeah, L. Freeman, it depends on the book or story that they're using. There are some things they simply cannot shove into 90 minutes of film. The Indiana Jones 5, I'm told it runs 3 hours. And movie theaters are so stupid. They should have an intermission halfway through so people can use the restroom and buy more snacks. They used to do that. They make most of their money from popcorn, candy, and soda, not from the actual movie. Now, the one movie of Phil's work that really is faithful is Radio Free Albemuth, but even they had to make a couple of changes while still being faithful to the book. At Sequentia, no, your production isn't greenlit when you have a complete script outline with an ending. It's usually greenlit when you have a promotional presentation. And they might have said, okay, at the end, we're going to have him killed, and that's it. Of course, that isn't what happens in the movies, in that movie, Adjustment Bureau. But really, what they present is a little bit of storyboard, a little bit of synopsis. Producers and investors don't read the script. That's too much work. They want a concise, I want to say prospectus, but there's a better word that I'm not coming up with. They want something condensed and visual. Yeah, I know that good techniques can be applied. I studied filmmaking. I made films while I was a student. I made films, slide presentations, uh, documentaries and fiction. I made a stage play, all sorts of things. Don loves The Wizard of Oz too. Good. Oh yeah, Don, you've got to see Radio Free Albemuth. Sometimes Netflix has it, sometimes Amazon Prime has it, and of course you can get the DVD or Blu-ray. I can't upload my films, Wita. They're 16 millimeter film, and I don't possess them. They belong to the college that funded them. There's one on VCR videotape that I have, but I have to find a way to get it made digital, and it isn't finished. It doesn't have the soundtrack. It has the people talking, but no ambient sound and no background music. And I don't think it's really complete, but it's what I have. Oh, in The Wizard of Oz, L. Freeman likes TikTok the Mechanical Soldier. I wonder if that's where they got the name for that new social media, TikTok. I don't do TikTok. I have to get dragged by force into newer technologies and websites and stuff. I was forced to go on the internet in the early 90s for my job. I did kind of get sucked in. I liked AOL until something better was available. AOL or AOL provided chat rooms and stuff. Now most websites that offer chat rooms want you to pay for it. Of course, I was paying AOL for their service, but they didn't charge extra for chat rooms. Oh, at Sequentia, we're trying to dig our way out of the black hole we fell into, with the help of AI. AI is like any other computer program, garbage in, garbage out. There was an early program in the early 70s called ELIZA. There wasn't really an internet, but they'd have the computers in two rooms. One computer was running the ELIZA program, and the other room would have a person typing questions and stuff like that. And ELIZA mimicked a counseling psychologist. And ELIZA was rather convincing. But all ELIZA could say or type was what from a list of things that someone had programmed into ELIZA. L. Freeman says ELIZA still works. Yeah, it was a very good program, but it really wasn't thinking the way we do. I couldn't come up with anything new. It just would select the right thing to say to the person she was counseling. The Mirror Cracked is in an anthology. Blanking on the title of the book. I have a copy of it somewhere. It has works by a variety of authors. It's on Amazon. I think it's called Dreamscape. And I've forgotten the name of the press. Anyway, it's a large format paperback. I'm going to sneak a peek into the box and see if it's here. No. Those are, what are they? Emanations. I've been trying to box up the books that either my books or books where I have a story in them, anthologies. Ah, Etsequentia has it, right? The best analogy for AI Etsequentia ever heard was comparing it to an animal not recognizing its reflection in the mirror, thinking it's another animal. Same as people not recognizing that AI is merely reflecting humans. No, I don't have Mirror Cracked on Kindle. I don't have the rights back yet. No. I don't think it was the Mirror. No, it's Mural and another story. I don't think it's the Mirror Cracked. Well, it must be the Mirror Cracked. I think I called it two stories or two short stories. Here, let me see if my internet will let me find it without losing YouTube. Yeah, it is the Mirror Cracked and Mural. It, no, wait a minute. Yeah, it's the Mirror Cracked. Two stories by Tessa B. Dick. Yeah, well. Sometimes they leave out my middle initial. Okay, we're almost there. Well, son of a gun, it doesn't come up when you search for it. However, I can get to it by going around Robin Hood's barn. Come on, internet. Load the next page. The hourglass is turning. Okay, you guys keep chatting while I find it. They've changed things. Sort by popularity, huh? Price low to high. That should do it. Okay. I got you a link. Now I've forgotten the name of the other story where I haven't got the rights back. Oh dear. It's in Somniscope. I don't know what I called it. Oh dear. And I wrote it. Yeah, there's only a Kindle for those two stories because it isn't enough pages to print as a book. But in the future, I might do something about that. It's Hmm. Yeah, Amazon wouldn't give it to me, so I found my author page and found it there. If you just search books for Tessa Dick, author, you'll get a list of my books with little images of the covers, and you'll see all kinds of books. Oh, we're up to almost 2 hours. Mm. Oh, you cats. Kittens are too rambunctious. I keep a pillow on that chair, and they knocked it down to the floor. Well, anyway, I have lots to do. It isn't quite as hot as it has been. We've had temperatures as high as 98, which is super rare on the mountain. We usually don't get above 80 to 85. I've got 5-star reviews there. All right, thank you, Etsy Quintia. Oh, yeah, wrestling with epistemological questions is an exercise in futility, but it can be entertaining to read. I can't help thinking that Radio Free Albemuth is true today. It reminds me of 1984. Our hero works for the propaganda department, and their building advertises truth. I don't know. Reality is stranger than fiction. There was a book and I think a TV show called Truth is Stranger Than, no, Fact is Stranger Than Fiction, something like that. That when you tell a true story, people tend not to believe it. But you tell them a fictional story and they find it believable because the author has done his or her best to make it believable. Well, L. Freeman, yes, you could read Radio Free Albemuth. You could also watch the movie. It was low budget, and the producers get no respect from Hollywood. There's no car chases and no shootouts. And by the way, no cats were harmed. They used a teddy bear to represent a kitty cat that got hit by a car. And it did change things. They had to, but it's really the most faithful movie to any of Phil's books and stories. It really is faithful. And they had very little budget for special effects, but they do have some to show the Vallis satellite beaming down to what's his name's brain? Not Phil, but his friend. Well, I haven't read all of Phil's works. Some seem to have been lost entirely. All we know is the title. Yeah, there is a famous quote at Sequentia. Fiction can't be as insane as reality because fiction has to make sense. Yeah, we all love car chases and gunfights. There's only one thing that'll bump a car chase off of the network news, and that's a widespread disaster. Weather, primarily, rain, snow, flooding, freezing. When we had our snowmageddon, about 6 feet of snow here and 12 feet or more up higher on the mountain. They finally learned where Crestline is. They wanted to go to Lake Arrowhead, but they couldn't get there. All the roads were closed. So they stopped in Crestline to do their news reports. And instead of car chases and stuff like that, the network news, locally at least, was covering our weather disaster. Horse Lover Fat, L. Freeman, Horse Lover is not in Radio Free Albemarle. He's in Vallis. Oh, well, if the nuclear war starts, L. Freeman, it won't be on the news. The government will take over all the channels, and you'll just see warnings: get in your basement or go to a shelter. And there won't be a lot of people around to listen to it anyway. Just think of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Well, the atomic bombs they have now are at least 100 times more powerful. And smaller, lighter, and easier to send. And Putin has threatened to use them. Well, at Sequentia, it's over 2 hours now, so there isn't much left. Enjoy your meal. I'm just winding down. I almost got the name of the other character in Radio Free Albemarle, but it escaped. You figured they'd be playing old nuclear prep movies? Oh, yeah, get under your desk and cover your head with your hands. That's going to save you. We had all kinds of atomic bomb drills when I was in grade school. Okay, I can't stand it. Radio Free Albemuth. See if it'll tell me. Cast. Nicholas Brady. By the way, Shea Wiggum did a great job playing Phil. And Alanis Morissette as Sylvia. She was not in there as a singer. She was an agent for the good guys. Oh, yeah, I like that, L. Freeman. If they can still transmit, we'll be watching Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. For those of you too young to get the reference, it was a kids' show with puppets, including a sea monster. Fran was a human interacting with the puppets. Yeah, well, Don, you have a great day. I've got to sign off. I really do. So, thank you all for listening. I'm trying to type here, and have a great day. Have a great week, month, year, and life, for that matter. And I'll catch you next week, internet willing, YouTube and Verizon willing. I'm glad you came too, L. Freeman. After 2 hours and 10 minutes, I'm wiped out, and it's time to eat something. So, be good and live well. Bye.